I'd like to call the meeting to order this evening. Roll call,
Commissioner Bunting,
present.
Commissioner Gay,
Here.
Commissioner Sapsy,
Present.
and Commissioner Owens and Bailey are absent.
Owens and Bailey. Okay, I'd like to do the pledge of allegiance of, prayer will be done by Tim Gay.
All our heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, you're so nice to us. Please be with us as we discuss pertinent issues affecting Gratiot County. Let's be mindful of those people that are very vulnerable. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Stand for pledge of allegiance, the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, is there any deletions or additions to add to the agenda?
Yes, we do need to add under new business,
Okay.
a settlement of the delinquent tax lawsuit.
Okay, just a minute here, I'm gonna pull my chair up. That was under new business. Okay. Okay, we'd like to approve the agenda. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Motion to approve. Support.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Gay and supported by Commissioner Shopsy.
Sapsy.
Good at that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion passed. Brief comment. Would anybody like to get up and talk?
Mr. Chair, Bill Hendry and MSU Extension. I told our new 4-H program coordinator that when our schedules would work out with the commissioners meeting, that I'd like to stop in and just introduce her quickly. This is Bree Clark.
Aye.
Introduce herself. She's our new 4-H PC.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Bree Clark. As Bill said, I'm the new 4-HPC here in Gratiot County. So we've had some cool things already going on with 4-H since I started. Notably, Gratiot County 4-H got to lead the 4-H pledge at 4-H Day at the Breslin Center last weekend.
Thanks.
Well, I have a sad thing to tell you I have a very dear friend that I've known since I was 10 years old, and I'm old now, and has just passed away. And she did 4-H for over, I think they said 60 some years. She was head of the 4-H.
Amazing.
Joanne Spindler from Owasso. I don't know if you know her or not.
I don't know her, but
A wonderful person. And so we hope to see you for 60 years.
I hope that too.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank
you.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you.
The funerals. Okay, would anybody else like to talk? Yes, please.
Good afternoon.
When I was here last, I detailed our shrinking farmland and shared dismal numbers that display an ominous glimpse of our future. Everyone should be unsettled when presented with the statistics available to them. I keep talking about solar on farmland because we have never seen the full life cycle of large solar projects. We do not know the full repercussions of the processes and products used by the solar companies. These solar companies have a method of forcing conduit underground by using hydraulic fluid that, if anything at all went wrong, would contaminate the soil. I question what exactly is in the solar panels themselves, as many articles indicate that at the end of its life cycle, they are considered hazardous waste and cannot go into regular landfill. I question why would we ever consider allowing this hazardous material on food-producing land that could possibly cause it to not be used for growing food in the future. I've heard of disappointments of the solar construction going on in local fields, and the construction is only in its infancy. A couple of the examples of these criticisms are as follows. Complaints of topsoil being removed and taken away, hauled completely off the land, trucked to who knows where. Complaints of defective parts from other countries, and the project is still on standby, waiting for adequate parts with no word on when the project will continue. 80% of the solar panels produced today are manufactured in China, and I suspect that these defective parts are from China as well. I think we can all guess who benefits the most from solar panels on farmland. It's not the taxpayers whose money is subsidizing the energy companies. It is not the non-participating property owners who have no say. And though the farmers that sign the leases think they will have a big payout coming, in the end, they will lose too. Ultimately, when all is said and done, the biggest loser of all will be our future. Yesterday, I drove around the site in North Star. If I read it correctly, and I'm still learning about ordinances, the ordinance in Gratiot County, there's supposed to be a chain link fence around all of the fields. However, that was not the case. One field had chain link, only one out of all them that I saw. Whose responsibility is it to make sure the company is following the rules? Who is going to monitor the progress or lack thereof? I urge everyone to examine every type of precaution to protect the non-participating residents and future of the farmland. A lot of people do not know what is happening until it's too late. However, if there was a headline on the front page of tomorrow's paper that shared the details of when and where a solar field was going in, well in advance of a lease and construction, we all know that there would be many concerned citizens protesting and asking for protections for their health and safety and assurances that strict rules be put in place and followed. At the last Board of Commission meeting in Isabella County, because I go there too, the room was full of local Amish. They showed up in numbers. We should follow their examples in regards to their sense of community and respect for their neighbors. So this is the headline that I'm giving you today. If you do not show up and speak out, you will not have a say and it will be too late. Your complaints will be on the back page and the solar panels coming out of the ground might as well be tombstones. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Anyone else? Okay. We'll continue on. Okay, approval of the consent calendar.
Move that we approve the consent calendar.
Support.
Okay, those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say aye. Nay, motion pass. Okay, communications, we'll go down to administration or report. And Sheila's going to do that today. Thank you.
Good evening. So I am here for Chris. He is currently, I know that we've talked in closed session about the negotiation that we are under with Constellation about the depreciation of the windmills. In Chris's words, they have kind of pulled the rug out from under us. So he is currently handling that. He will be in a little bit, but he said that it was fine for me to let you know that is why he is not here. He does need to be in on that currently. So I'm just going to do a quick report of kind of what's been going on in the administrator department. Our last item has been sent to the auditors. That happened today. So we are all very excited that they have everything that they need. So it is under their review at this time. Last Friday, we did have an employee appreciation meal. We served about 65 people of our employees. We had 3 giveaways for all staff that everybody went into it. And then there was a door prize as well. So we got lots of positive feedback about that and just letting our staff know how much we do appreciate them. We did take Mancino's over to the sheriff's department for those that couldn't get to us, as well as out to central dispatch so that they could participate as well. New hires. So we are continually hiring. Courtney has started in the clerk's office with Angie. We have Brittany. She's the new telecommunicator out at dispatch. We have Sylvia, who started as a custodian today. And Judson, who is a part-time corrections officer who started yesterday. So we still have lots of people coming in, which is a great thing because this is a great place to work. We are still moving forward with our solid waste plan. I know that I spoke to that at the last meeting. We do have some representatives from Isabella County that are going to be speaking in just a little bit to give you some more details about what that looks like and what that could look like for us. And then just within our department, we've done lots of training in this last 2 weeks since Chris last reported. I did a MMRMA risk management workshop. Stephanie and I both did a contract compliance, and we did a leadership summit through Acrisure as well. So there's a lot going on, even if it's not all being seen. We are continuing to stay busy.
Thank you. Okay, county commissioners. Commissioner Gay, would you like to report on anything you did?
Well, really, the only thing I did was I attended the Republican Gratiot County meeting at Penn's, the bowling alley in Ithaca. It's the last Wednesday of the month. It was last Wednesday. The Republican Party in Michigan is fractured. They took the chairman, they took her power away. And the convention was supposed to be in Detroit. This was last Saturday, but it was moved to Grand Rapids, and that's where our congregation went, led by Chuck Murphy. But to me, the most important thing, though, is we're united behind Donald Trump. He got all our delegate votes, so when we go to the convention, Republican, we're all Republicans. When we go to the Republican convention, we'll have the Donald Trump delegates. So that was the most important. I am disturbed, I gotta say, about the solar panel business. And when Steve and me went to Roscommon,
Northern Michigan
it was
Council.
very interesting. It's not a Democrat or Republican thing. There's a power more powerful than that is kind of interested in forcing this upon us. I went to Saginaw Valley State University with Jan, and I sat through 4 hours. I guess they're for solar panels. Two things were not mentioned. Fossil fuel was never mentioned at all. Climate change or global warming was never mentioned at all. And to me, I guess that's why we're doing this. The wind turbines and the solar panels, and those things were never mentioned. We're given a real good meal afterwards, but no speakers were around for questioning at all. And they didn't say we wouldn't take questions, but I got the idea. You shouldn't question. So it is disturbing. I don't know how much can be done about it, quite frankly.
Thank you. How about, did you do any of your townships?
The townships, they all meet next week, the second week of the month. Emerson meets Monday, the city commission, Alma City Commission Tuesday, Arcata Wednesday, Sumner Thursday. So that's all next.
Okay. How about you, Commissioner?
A couple weeks ago now, on February 21st, there was a zoning meeting. Actually, solar was the topic of, it was for a change to the zoning commission. The county zones some of the townships have their own zoning ordinances. There's a project at a large dairy farm. It's not a mega site. It's you see them at a lot of, it's a smaller scale that's being put at the corner of Wisner and Buchanan Road. And they were asking for a couple of different variances from the ordinance to go up. Like our ordinance is to be 8 feet tall and they wanted to go 9 feet, 3 3/4 inches or something. And I think they approved to go to 9 feet, 6 inches, which is still shorter than some of the townships have, but. And then they wanted a variance to not have to plant the green fence, if you will, the living fence around it, and that was denied. So they will be required to do that. After that, I drove up to the Parks and Rec meeting in Elma. We were introduced to the new Parks and Rec director, the one that Chris announced, John Rayburn. He was there. It was his first meeting that he was there for. So that was nice. Everybody got to meet him. There was employees from the park there. And then we also discussed the there's $100,000 that was set aside out of the park millage funds to go to local communities. And we've received, I think it's 7 applications that came in from various entities for various amounts of money. There was some questioning on whether or not it's the county's responsibility to meet if these projects meet the ADA requirement. And Chris got a hold of the attorney and that ruling has come back and it's been forwarded to, I believe Dave sits on the committee that actually is deciding who's going to get the money. They have until the 1st of May to make those determinations. So they're working through as we speak on that. I also went to Fulton Township. That was on the 26th. Very interesting. All of my townships are very rural. I have 6 townships and 2 villages, very small. All the townships are rural. Agriculture is the thing. Fulton Township is very rural and agriculture, but you have 2 villages there with Middleton and Parrington, and then you have Rainbow Lake. Lots of time was spent. Spicer Group was there speaking about the sewer and improvements that need to be made. That was basically built in 1974. And they were talking about the updates and repairs that need to be done. Some of the manhole covers are actually underneath the ground, which in the summertime, not a real big issue if they have to get down to them, other than they have to excavate. Some of them are several feet, so they have to excavate down with a backhoe. In the wintertime, when there's frost in the ground, it creates a whole nother project or nightmare for that project. So they're working on coming up with a plan to get them all so that they are accessible when needed to be accessed. And then to get on some sort of a schedule with replacing the pumps and that sort of thing. And then last week, I went to the health department meeting with George. I got there way early because I had typed in my phone the wrong time. So I was there plenty in advance. I got to go on a tour. I've never been in that building before. So I went through the Clinton County, Michigan Health Department, a very beautiful facility there. Actually ran into some friends, people that I didn't even know worked there, but that was nice to get to see the building and their facilities. And then I was able to partake or sit through the finance meeting. George is the chair of that, so I'd never sat through that before. So I was able to sit through the finance part of that meeting, but it was a good meeting. And the doctor's presentation was on, there's some new state funding for dental health of young kids, preschool and kindergarten. And that was really interesting. My wife was a kindergarten teacher for almost 30 years. So that was very interesting to me to hear on, they're realizing how important that young health, dental health is for children. And so it was very interesting to see what they're doing and how they're utilizing those funds. That's it.
It sounds great. Okay, I had a meeting at Michigan Works the end of last month. I was just at the very end of Elma meeting. I had the time mixed up. I was thinking it was started at 7 and it started at 6, but it was perfect because I had a chance to go in, give my report and then leave. And I had another meeting that night too, at the church. I also attended the Parks and Recreation meeting. And probably will attend a couple more on just some issues in my area. And I won't go over that at this time. Other than that, that's about it. So I think we'll finish on with the business today. Okay, a consideration of new business, that would be Isabel County about recycling. So you're up next. If you'd like to come to the podium too.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. As I've been working with Sheila and Chris as well. We've invited them to a couple of our ad hoc meetings, which Isabella County is in the process of upgrading our recycling facility, what is commonly called in the industry a MRF. It's a material recycling facility or a processing facility. Isabella County, as it stands right now, we have 11 depot sites, and we have 4 curbside contracts that we operate in Isabella County. Them are all our employees that we use for that for that services. Since January 8th, the state of Michigan is now requiring a material management planning. It's a transition from the solid waste material management plans that every county in the state has. Every county now will be having to upgrade their solid waste plan, switching that through the course of a 3-year process to material management planning. For that material management planning, Isabella County is looking to try and become a regional hub and spoke to be able to bring as much material in recycling wise to be able to process even more material. But along with all of that, that process is upgrading to our facility. But it has been my core job to be able to reach out to surrounding counties, which is also going to be a requirement by the state that we have letters from any county that is touching ours. We have to have a letter from them stating whether they're willing to work with a county or not willing to work with a county. So this is part of that requirement by me reaching out to you folks here. But the other side of it is that the approach that I'm taking on it, and I've explained to Sheila, is that we as a core group feel that it is best to be able to collaborate and work together, giving us a larger voice on a bigger scale with the state of Michigan or EGLE, which is the Environment, Great Lakes and Energy Department, to be able to garner more funding for grant funding and things of that nature to be able to help on the recycling side of things. So as it stands right now, Isabella County has received from grant funding towards this our upgrade on our facility. We have about 900, it is 900,000 that we've received right now. There is a 10% or a 20% match on that. We have $225,000 set aside. That 225 match is courtesy of the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe that we work extremely close with. We've also working with the tribe applied for an EPA grant, which is called a Swiffer grant. That grant is allowing us, we have received that. I think they've reduced that by 5%. It was 1.5 million and we're down to just under, I think we're at like 1.4 on it now that will be receiving. Saginaw Chippewa Tribe wants to be able to use about 300,000 of that to do some upgrades on their campus. The rest of that can be co-signed or will be co-signed over to the recycling facility to be able to work on purchasing new equipment for the facility and that upgrade. Through this whole material management planning process, the state of Michigan, amazingly enough, has been gracious enough to not make it an unfunded mandate in the fact that they are giving us each county, there'll be $60,000 for each county, an additional $10,000 if you so choose to work with another county. So in a total of $70,000. And then there's also a 50 cents per capita that each county would receive as well. What Isabella County is proposing with our partners is that this $70,000, if a county does choose to work with us, and as it stands, we have, I have letters of intent from, I think, 4 counties right now. That we have letters of intent to work with right now. So, but what we're proposing at this point is that $70,000 would be put in one pool in an investment account that could be divvied out as we continue to work through the whole material management process. There's going to end up being RFPs have to be released to be able to help write this plan with us using or being that big of a central location. I think by the time we're done, the hope is that we will have 8 counties total that we'll be working with to be able to work on this material management process. But the idea would be the $70,000 would come into one pool. The 50 cents per cap would be pushed back to each individual county to be able to be used for infrastructure build, for recycling and education within each individual county. So, and I should know what Gratiot County's population is, but I do not off the top of my head, so.
It's about
40,000.
42 or 43,000. We have the prison here. So I'm not sure, it's supposed to be every 2 prisoners counts as one. Yeah, you have to count, every 2 prisoners counts as one.
And it is.
So I think there was like 3 or 4, well, be about 3 or 4,000 out of the prison.
Mm.
But that's what we're planning, that's what we're trying to work with right now.
I'm sorry, so Mr. Commissioner Gay would be right, about 40,000 that would be included, but I'm sure the prison, we pick up garbage from them too. I think that's a great idea. I go to Florida and that's what they do down in Florida, is combine everybody.
And that's the idea behind it. I think where my vision for this is in the end run is that we would become a regional hub and spoke and possibly eventually become an authority.
What other counties are you?
Right now, I have letters of intent from Osceola, Augusta, Clare, Gladwin, that I have right now. I have this meeting tonight and I have one on the 16th with Midland County. Then we also have Ogama County that has interest, but has not signed a letter of intent as of yet.
So signed in,
A letter-
is there any money that we have to put up front or?
No, the letter of intent that we've have out as it stands right now is all it is that it's an intent to be able to work with Isabella County. It's not a binding agreement as it stands.
So it's just to get your foot in the door to find out more about it.
Yes, and where this will end up, yes, there will have to be an ILA or an interlocal agreements will have to be signed, and then will be binding contracts. But as it stands right now, we have 6 months from January 1st or January 8th until July 8th. I have that time to be able to work to get everything put together. And then at that point, by July 8th, we have to notify Eagle of a notice of intent that we will be, every county has to do that, not just Isabella, but every county will have to do that. Send a notice of intent to Eagle that you are going to be either pairing or working with other counties, or you're going to be doing your own material management planning.
Okay. And that's the whole county.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. And so, I guess I'd like, just out of curiosity, we would do our own garbage here and then they would just pick it up from here, or would we be taking it up to Isabel County?
Plan for how we would want that to work.
Yes.
That's to make the plan.
Yep.
So what?
Is to make the plan.
To make the plan.
It was
We
that.
really don't have the plan set.
Right, and that's where this is all coming from, is so that we can write how exactly we want that to happen. And the biggest thing that will be out of that, so that everybody understands as far as the commissioners, is that every county will have a say on what we're trying to do. Every county will have what is called a designating planning agent. A DPA will be from every county will be at, or at least a designated person from each county would have a chair at the table. Because, for that committee, so. Any other questions?
Do you
or
have any
anything?
questions, commissioners?
I'm just glad to see that we're working on this because they were here a few months ago and it's the first I'd heard of it that we were required to get this thing rolling. And so I'm glad to see that you guys are working together to see what's going to be the best options for Gratiot County and make sure that we are the state mandate.
I've been with Isabella County for almost 12 years now, and for the last 5 years, we were expecting Part 115, which is what the law was that changed. We're expecting that to move through, and it finally went through. It passed. Part 115 passed in a lame duck session. That everybody was wondering, well, why did it pass in a lame session? Part of the reasoning for that was that it was Republican Party had written the language for Part 115 and them changes. It passed in a lame duck session because if you pass it at that point and wait, instead of waiting until, which would have been the following year, control of the House and the Senate changed in the state of Michigan, that language would have been completely different than what it is today in Part 115. They can go back and amend some of that language, but it's harder to go back and amend than it is to work with what you have. So,
What do you need from us this evening?
if you folks are comfortable enough, Sheila actually has a letter of intent. Would love to get a signature on that so that we can move forward.
Okay, what is your wishes, Commissioner Gay and Commissioner Shapsey?
Well, I guess since we're talking about it, this is our only county we're in talks with, right? I don't want to.
Yes, so.
I don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot, you know what I mean? So.
That we touch and that touches us has to reach out and we have to reach out to them.
Mhm.
Currently, this is the conversation that we are having,
Okay.
just based on who is surrounding us and the other talks that are.
I know there was that email that came out the other day.
So, and I will speak to that because it probably came to all of you. So, Granger did send Commissioner Sapsy an email, so it may have gone to all of you as well. Granger will absolutely be included in the conversations. Like Jake said, we have to have them included in that conversation. I'm not sure that it makes sense for our county at this time to have Granger make that plan, which is part of the ask, which is why they are here, because Chris and I think that this is the best direction for us to go in, with Granger being able to put their opinion and their input with that.
The one thing that, so that you understand, the major haulers all want to be able to have a say.
Mhm.
And the biggest percentage of the major haulers also have landfills in their charge. One of the things that Part 115 requires is diverting the material out of a landfill. Most of them companies see that as a negative impact to their business. But the other side of it is that they also understand that they are required by the state of Michigan to be able to do recycling. And it just depends on how that language is crafted. And like Sheila had stated, every county that has a major hauler or has a landfill in it will certainly have a landfill operator at the table. There will be major haulers at the table. As it stands, I believe right now that I would have Republic, GFL, and Waste Management already at the table from the other counties that I'm working with. So it's not going to be one landfill or one waste hauler or landfill operator at the table trying to help dictate some of that language.
Mhm.
It's going to be spread out over all of it. And everybody's going to be able to have a say to a point, because there is certain requirements on who has to be on the planning commission for material management planning. So, and that's why I say it does give everybody a voice to be able to work through all of this. And be able to feel comfortable with what it is that Isabella County is trying to do.
So to answer your question, this is the conversation we have and
Yep.
and Chris and I are.
Okay, excellent. And because we have two board members not here, are they fully up to speed? Have they talked to you about this as well, so that we know?
They presented in the last meeting, so I mean, we do still have some time if we want to have everybody here, that's fine. Chris can-
That's my only concern. I mean, I
Understand that?
I think this is, what we had hoped we were gonna be at, but with, our board chair and Commissioner Bailey, I didn't know if they had reached out to you and talked to you because this is on the agenda.
Or I have not spoken today
Okay.
about.
Yeah, so that's where my, concern is. I want to make sure that we are all as a body of the commissioners, I want to make sure this is a big deal with the state mandates and all that stuff. I want to make sure that we are all on the same page and all in if this is the way we're gonna go. This is kind of the way I want to make sure we're good to go.
Completely understand that, Commissioner.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, I want you guys to feel comfortable about signing a letter of intent. We would love to be able to get one this evening, but that's not the entire purpose of this. The purpose is
Yeah.
be able to inform you of where we are with everything,
Yeah,
and that we're moving forward. But I don't want to run up against a June timeline is kind of where what I would like to see.
so, I mean, we have another meeting in 2 weeks from tonight. And hopefully everybody will be here and healthy at that point in time. So is it something that we would like to, I'm not wanting you to have to come back, Jake.
More than willing to do that.
I know you are, but I'm just, and I'm glad you are, but I don't want you to have to come back. Would it be okay if it was something we tabled till next meeting?
Absolutely.
And then we will make a decision as a unified group. If everybody else feels comfortable with that, I
Yes.
think that would make me feel the best and then I'll have an opportunity to talk to both of them. I like the idea. I'm not kidding. I mean, I just want to make sure they're on board with it as well. You know what I mean? Because if Sheila, you were tasked with this, Chris put you and you, two of you have worked on this. You've came and presented this sounds like the thing we need to be moving forward with. I just want to make sure that we have that support of those other commissioners before we do that. And I think in 2 weeks, they're gonna be here. And we can do that, letter of intent without you here. You know what I mean? We can do that with Sheila can bring it up and boom, we can get it done and so. Okay,
Yeah, please note that I am more than willing to come back down. One of my commissioners would be standing here next to me, but unfortunately, their commission meetings fall in the exact same time.
oh, yeah.
So, and in fact, 2 weeks, she will be doing a presentation at the commission meeting if I choose to come back down here. So-
Okay, all right.
So her and I will have to split. I have my operations supervisor with me today, Charity Sweet, as well. So yes, more than willing to, allow you guys the time that you need to make sure that everybody is comfortable with this. It is a major undertaking.
Yeah, that's how I want to make sure we've got everybody's support so that as we work through this process, we're all with you on getting it done. So, and done right.
Any other questions?
Do you have any questions, Commissioner Gay?
No, not at this.
All
Is
right,
there anybody in the audience that has any questions?
thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, Jake. Or should I call you Tim? Sam.
Okay, information, the annual report, Matt. I pronounce his last name, Hewitt.
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 You would. Yeah.
Hi, Matt.
Good evening. So tonight I just wanted to give my annual report. First, I'm gonna go kind of just give you an overview of the way that our department's structured in IT. And then I'm gonna go into a report on some of our metrics that I provide the commissioners with every month. And then after that, just a report on a few of the projects that we've done last year. So the IT department isn't like a super public facing department. We really support the employees more than we do. So we respond to employee trouble calls. We perform system upgrades. We also purchase hardware and software for our employees, and we plan system configurations. We also make sure that if we have a disaster, we're able to recover from that disaster here in the county. We ensure that all of our systems are kept up to date and secure, and we provide strategic vision for other departments as well. Why does the IT department exist? Well, every employee here at the county uses technology in some way, from the custodian that puts in their timesheet every day, all the way up to a judge sitting at the bench using a computer. So everybody here at the county needs technology so that they're able to provide citizens with essential services. They need IT to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, because we also support the sheriff's office, the jail, and central dispatch. We also use technology here at the county to increase productivity. Our department supports 10 different locations that are owned by the county. So that's the courthouse, the sheriff's office, our North Annex building, the Commission on Aging, the Drain Commission, Central Dispatch, Animal Control, Parks and Rec, the MSU Extension Building. We support their phones. And then this year we added the airport to that list, and we removed the South Annex building from that list. So I'm Matt Hewitt. I'm the county's IT director. I probably should have introduced myself at the beginning. I'm the county's one employee for IT, but we also fill other roles using VC3. So if you run down to the IT office, you may see Dylan Conway. He's our VC3 on-site technician. He sits in that office with me and supports users on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So going into our service delivery model a little bit, like I said, Dylan's here 3 days a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays as an on-site technician. Back in 2017, Gratiot County chose to work with VC3 as a technology partner. So they fill in our help desk role and our on-site technician role, and they also help us execute IT projects here at the county. And then since 2019, we also used Applied Innovation as our managed print services provider. So VC3 is working on our computers and our network, and then Applied Innovation is working our physical printers, like if they are spilling ink everywhere or if they need toner replenishment, that type of thing. So like I said, there's really 3 roles in my department. There's the help desk, there's our on-site technician, and then there's myself, the IT director. So the help desk is basically remote here at Gratiot County. We use VC3 as our help desk. And so that help desk is, they're troubleshooting really simple issues like password resets. They're processing user requests. So they're taking the user's initial issue and then they're assigning a priority to it, and then pulling in other resources as necessary, like other software vendors or other hardware vendors that we work with. When that user files that ticket, when they have an issue, it goes to that remote help desk. And then if that remote help desk technician isn't able to work with them and help them or solve their issue within 15 minutes, it gets escalated to a level 2 remote technician, or it could also get escalated to our on-site technician if it's an issue that they feel that the on-site needs to be involved with. It could be escalated to me if it's an issue that I need to deal with, or it could also be escalated to other vendors if it's not an issue that VC3 would help us with. So if a user has a hardware issue on a printer and calls VC3, they would work with Applied Innovation to make sure that that user is getting taken care of. And like I said, the on-site technician is here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If a user has an issue that requires on-site service on Tuesdays or Thursdays, I usually fill that role. I did already go over most of this, but the on-site technician, like I said, they're assisting users that are having an issue where somebody physically really needs to be there to work on it. They also quickly develop a lot of experience at Gratiot County because they're here 3 days a week. So if there's an issue that a user is having that really requires like advanced knowledge of the way that our systems are set up here in Gratiot County, then our on-site assists with those types of issues as well. They also do our IT onboarding for our new hires as well. And then my role at the county. So I also do a little bit of user support as things come in through the ticketing system and get bounced up to me if others aren't able to deal with them. But user support's really just one small portion of what I work on. So my role is mostly to work with department heads to do that strategic planning, but also work on the IT budget. I work with our vendors to make sure that they're doing what we pay them to do. If our users are having customer service issues with our vendors, I work through those issues as well. I do project management, and then I assist departments on the audits that they have to work through. So that's the way that my department's set up. Like I said, we use VC3 and applied innovation to kind of fill in certain roles. One of the things I do for the Board of Commissioners here is I provide them with monthly reports in their board packets every month that goes into how many help desk tickets we see or close out every month, and then how many hours VC3 is putting into that. So what I've done is I've compiled those numbers together for all of 2023, and I wanted to present those totals to you tonight. Couple of notes about the ticket numbers. One is that if somebody walks up to one of UC3's workers and asks them to solve something and doesn't file a ticket for it, it's not going to be reflected in these numbers because there was no ticket. And then, like I said, I don't typically work in the ticketing system that much, so a lot of the work that I do doesn't really reflect in these numbers either. But in 2023, VC3 closed almost 1,400 tickets. So that's about 4 tickets a day. It doesn't really sound like a lot, but some of those tickets are quick fix tickets, like a password reset. Takes 5 minutes. Some of those tickets could take 3 days to work on as you're troubleshooting and going through all the steps. And then the amount of hours they worked in 2023 was about 1,500 based on the ticketing system. So this chart shows the amount of tickets they closed in 2022 versus last year. So in 2022, they closed about 1,500 tickets. Last year, 1,300. These two numbers are kind of difficult to compare apples to apples because they switched ticketing systems on those years after they were acquired. But I did want to at least have something for comparison's sake. But I would expect that 2023 and 2024's numbers to be closer together, only because things are flowing through the system in the same way every year. Hours worked between 2022 and 2023 were somewhat the same. It was about 1,700 versus 1,500. I thought the commissioners would be interested in knowing which departments are using VC3 services and the IT department the most. They're the departments that you would expect, either the departments with the largest number of employees or the departments, I would say, with more complicated operations like central dispatch and the jail, where they have a lot of different IT equipment. This is the same breakdown by hours. So very similar. You'd see departments like district court with a lot of people up at the top, and then specialized departments like dispatch and the sheriff's office up at the top too. One of the other ways I break down the numbers every month is I also give you a report by category rather than by department, just so that you can see what types of issues we're dealing with. So this is tickets by category, the number of tickets by category. And one thing I wanted to point out was just to show like passwords versus onboarding. Like I was saying before, a password reset can be something really quick. So we see a lot of them. But if you look at the hours, you can see that like onboarding and the passwords flipped positions because onboarding somebody takes a long time and doing a password reset doesn't take very much time at all. And then the third metric I supply you all with every month is our customer service survey scores. So when a user's ticket is closed out and their issue is solved, so the user will typically receive an email that asks them to respond with how that solution went and how the whole experience went. And it's just a really quick survey. It's a smiley face, it's like a yellow, not smiling or frowning face, and then a red frowning face, and the user just selects one and fills out like basically a form that just lets you type in some additional details. The scores range from -100 to 100, and these are our scores for each month last year. So if they were up to, if it was only going up to 100, you might look at a like November and see 75 as like a C, but it's not. So I wouldn't think about it that way, only because it goes all the way from -100 to 100. So it's still a pretty high score. So that's the report on the tickets that we solved last year. And then I wanted to go into a few, I just hand selected a few of the projects that we worked on last year that I thought you would all be interested in. The first project that I wanted to bring up, this is one of those projects that at the beginning of this presentation, I said that we're not a very public facing department, but in this instance, with something like the Gratiot County website, that is one aspect of our department that is very public facing. So this last year, or let's see, back in 2018, when I was hired in, the image on the left is what our Gratiot County website looked like. When I was hired in, we went to a different website vendor, and it looked more like the middle image there. And then just last September, we went through just a visual refresh of our website, where everything's still located in the same area for the most part, but it's just kind of like a fresh coat of paint on a house. So you're not knocking down walls or moving rooms around, you're just making it look nice again. So that's what we did this year with the Gratiot County website.
The pictures are actually from Gratiot County now, right?
They should be, yeah.
We don't have a train from God knows where. We have one that maybe it's in Gratiot County.
Anymore.
Yeah, I worked with Chris and Sheila on sorting out some of those pictures.
Why is that?
One of the other big projects that I've been working on this year is our Wintel telephone audit. So this year, what we've done, we have a contract up for renewal, which is our telephone and internet service provider contract. So to prep for that, I've been reviewing all of the service that we do with Wintel and inventorying all of the telephone numbers that we have on our account and which department uses each telephone number and why they use each telephone number and how much each telephone number costs and that type of thing. So we're taking a deep dive into this just to get a better idea of how this is structured. And then we're also inventorying the phone hardware, the physical devices that people use to take phone calls. And we're doing this so that when that contract comes up for renewal, we can have a great RFP posted and we can get a lot of responses from a lot of different vendors rather than just going with one company that we've gone with for a long time. One of the other big projects we did here at the courthouse and at some of our other buildings was to modernize our panic button system. So we have duress buttons in various locations here at the county. If an employee isn't feeling safe working with a citizen or a vendor, they can push that button and our security will come and make sure everything's going okay. Last year, we really streamlined the way that those people are dispatched to those areas where people are having issues to improve responsibility. We also significantly increased the amount of buttons at all of our different locations. And then one other project that we worked on that was mostly internal to my department, but other departments do benefit from it, is the implementation of Landsweeper in my department. It's a piece of software that helps me organize and inventory all the thousands and thousands of devices that are connected to our network. And one of the reasons that this is great for other departments too is now I can look at all of the technology by department rather than by what type of piece of technology it is. So if I'm onboarding a new department head, rather than pulling 10 different lists, you know, a list of the phones, a list of the computers, and then trying to pull it all together, I just have one location where all of this information is coming into. And I can, like when the new Parks and Rec director is being onboarded next week, I can just give him a list of all of the technology in his department and then explain to him what it's used for, that type of thing. I'm not going to go into any amount of detail on the major department projects, but I just wanted to let the commissioners know that not only do I work on projects that benefit the entire county, I often work with department heads and we roll out things that just benefit their department as well. So last year I spent a lot of time working with our courts and our sheriff's office to prep them for a state of Michigan technology audit. And I also worked on some of these other projects that only benefit certain departments, like the court recording modernization or the sheriff's office and the courthouse video server modernization projects. Those are all projects that we've discussed before because they required board approval. We did those. But the projects on the right-hand side, the Register of Deeds was just a piece of software that they use to keep track of all of their documents up in their department. So we switched to a new piece of software for them. District Court, MyFile is a piece of software where they can do electronic filing, all of their court documents. That's a big change for them down at District Court because that's something that the state is asking them to do now. The sheriff's office and the jail, they have a new key box where they can put all of their physical keys into it and then use their badge readers to pull keys out of that key box. And then I've been working with our new emergency manager on some building security improvements, getting some additional security cameras here at the courthouse, and then worked with the state of Michigan on our LGNet, our connection to our local government network that lets us kind of tie into the state and see state information. And then a few projects that we're going to be taking care of this year, like I mentioned, our phone system contract is up for renegotiation or modernization this year. We've also got that both our managed IT services contract and our managed print services contract up for renewal this year. So I'll be probably back in 2 weeks to go over the managed print services vendors with you all. And that's really it. That's all I have to go over tonight. Any questions or feedback on different types of information you might want me to provide in those reports or bring next year?
I'd like to know how many, because I mean, obviously I worked here, how many times you see the VC3 guys, you know, used to be IT right. And hey, can you know, I mean, those numbers definitely don't tell the real story because every time they walk, and I've seen you get pulled, you know, here, there, and everywhere. So, I mean, it's a lot, but it's definitely a whole lot more than that in actuality of how much you guys really do and keep this place running because everything runs on technology now. It doesn't work. It's everybody's emergency, even though it's not truly an emergency, but to them, it's a huge thing. So thank you for keeping us rolling and working on the modernization things, because I know it all costs money and, you know, if you don't stay up with it, it's just gonna cost more and more and more as you fall further and further behind. So thank you.
No, so Matt does a great job. He runs a great department. He's one of those people that you can walk up to and say, this is what I'd like to do. And he will research and he will come up with multiple ways that you can do that. He doesn't rely on you to tell him what you need because, you know, most of us don't know what we need when it comes to this. So he's always been really good at that. Has the help desk support staff kind of, has that closed? Your RFPs that you,
Or
has that closed?
or VC3, the managed.
Yes.
So I haven't actually put that up for bid yet.
Okay. I was gonna ask you some questions about that, but I won't do that until after it's closed.
Okay, all right. Sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, thank you. Gratiot County classification, study by Sheila.
Back. Give Matt just a second to get this started. So I'm sure that you all remember that at our last meeting, we went over the classification part of the classification and compensation study. Today, we are going to talk about the compensation. Again, just like last week, I am not asking you of anything tonight. I am providing you the information. That's what this is. Okay? Any questions before we get started over anything that you read from the last one? No?
Just, I guess these things are always, kind of a double-edged sword, because I know from working at the sheriff's office, when the thing went out, you get a lot of grumbling and people that don't really want to fill the thing out.
Yes.
And so that's where I always use caution when I look through these things, and you see where people classified at is, did everybody put forth the effort that now that they're seeing the end result come back, they wish they would have put forth? Because has the county ever done one of these before?
Not
They have.
substantially since 1990, I think, 6.
Okay, so
There's
we
not
haven't
been
done-
comprehensive.
So most people who work here haven't like done one of these on an every 5-year basis, so they realize the ramifications of, just putting forth, maybe not their 100% effort into what all the things they do. Cause I know that happens with these things. I've been through it before. And so I always use a little bit of caution when I proceed through these to see what, especially that last one, which totally went on what their job titles.
It was not just job titles.
No, I know it was what all their functions of what to do in their job. And that's where I always wonder, if people had to redo it now that the results are back, I bet you there'd be a few different answers that.
Well, yes, but that doesn't always mean that it's going to be more accurate. Because some people, if they know that this is,
Well, they'll embellish stuff. Exactly. It's a double-edged sword. Don't worry.
which is one of the things that we talked to the vendor before we even did it, was how to eliminate some of that. And they had their process to eliminate that boasting to get people to the hire. So.
Which is why I went through multiple levels of review.
Right.
Multiple levels of people were able to adjust it so it would be accurate. It wasn't just the employee that was filling out. the description.
Yeah, I know.
I did start there because
Well, it's on that.
sometimes when you have 20 years of drift, I mean, none of our jobs, none of our positions are even remotely close to what they have in 1996.
No, not at all. So as you read through this stuff, this didn't all have, I mean, there's several things I have highlighted in here. This didn't happen since you've been the county administrator, I can tell you that.
It
This
has,
is a long time in the making to get,
it
so
absolutely,
these are, actually, it was very eye-opening as I read it. I was like, oh my.
yes. I think,
Something I've known in my heart from listening to people complain, just got to be right in black and white in front of the face, so.
so what else we are talking about today is the compensation piece of that. So the classification was discussed at the last meeting. Anybody that's watching, go back and watch 2 weeks ago if you want to see that piece of it, because I know this has not gone out to anybody. So our staff is waiting for this. They have been waiting for 2 years for this. So they want this information. So the classification is separate. So compensation is what we're talking about tonight. This study is based on the wages from the previous fiscal year. This is from, well, I guess it's a fiscal year and a half now. So, so just know that these wages are not the current wages, they are the previous wages. And then job descriptions, which I talked about at the last meeting, they were just a byproduct that we got at the end of the study. So, Chris mentioned this at the last one. This is our external market survey information. They sent out 30 comparators to organizations, and those organizations were based on median household income, cost of living adjustments, housing price, unemployment, the population, and the taxable value. The ones that I have highlighted here in yellow, these are the ones that are our tried and true comparables. These are the counties we go to
Every single time we need to do a comparable. So that tells me that the information that we have here is at least accurate to that level. I can't speak to Van Buren County. I don't know anything about them, but our important comparables are in here. We have their data. That is really, really important. We got a 40% response rate to our survey, which is exceptional.
I apologize if you're gonna get to this, but my favorite part of the study that I feel like a lot of people might overlook is we're not comparing our wages to Isabella County's wages in this study. It's not a straight one-to-one comparison. How do we rank to them? What Sheila brought up, all those economic factors as far as how much we're taxed, how much our income is, how much our homes sell for. All of those numbers were compiled to give us a ratio factor of how each of those economic indicators compares to another county. So Isabella County, when all of those factors are computed, they may be let's just say they would be the baseline of 1. And when we compare all of those factors of Gratiot County, we stack up to be, let's say, 0.83. So that's how they would look at the different, compare wages. So if Isabella County, they were looking at $100,000 wage, based on the economic factors in Gratiot County, they would expect us to have the same standard of living with an $83,000. So I just want you to know it's much deeper than just how much one person makes at Gratiot County versus how much somebody makes in Isabella.
And thank you for pointing that out. So where we're going to start here, this is positions that are substantially below market value. I'm not going to read them all to you. You have the information, but there are 24 positions today that are more than 10% below market value. That is huge. Absolutely huge. That tells me we do not have equity among our staff. And our staff is underpaid. And so this proves this. On the left-hand side, the third one down, assistant prosecuting attorney, that's already been adjusted. So there's a little bit of a little asterisk there so that you know some of these things have already been adjusted since this study. The HR officer, I was in that position when we started that study, and here I am a year in this role. So it's taken us so long. So I've noted when there have been changes in our system. So the next slide, 16 positions are between 5 and 10% below market value. We have some positions, 21 positions that are near market value. So that's between -5% and 5% above. And then we have 5 positions that are above market value. So that is 5% and above. And then we do have one that is substantially above market value.
Consider cost of living.
Yes, that was all included in those factors. Okay. So this is not in your packet, but I think it's kind of really displays well what the experience that we are having here. 61% of our staff is at least 5% under market value. So more than half. 6 out of 10 people is at least 5% under market value.
When you say under market value, I mean, they're not paid enough.
Correct. Not even close to being paid.
Paid less than what somebody would be paid in a same position somewhere else.
That's why I said this didn't happen overnight, but this is something that if you've spent any time in this building ever or gotten phone calls from people that are employed for the county, this is something that I have heard about from back when I worked in a position that I didn't even see it listed on here per se, but I always felt like when I started in it, I was like, are you kidding me? And when I left the position, I felt like I was making a wage that I felt was a good wage for that position. But that was, Chris, you and I have talked about this a number of different times, you know what I mean? That and the sheriff's wage now is getting to the point where when you see it written down on a piece of paper, I had it stuck to my desk right above my head. A whole bunch of different sheriff's departments and where we were at and where we're at when I left there, it's something you can at least swallow, not.
But again, this study is not meant to bring us up to Clinton County level. But
those comparables, the ones that you guys consider our main comparables, even.
well, all of them were used as comparables, but it was just economically adjusted.
Yep.
And I read an interesting study today for a presentation. 89% of employers think that wage is the reason that people leave, and that's just not true. Only 12% of people say that it's actually because of the wage. And this speaks to the people that we have here. We have people that want to be doing this work, but we also have an obligation to know this information and address that in whatever way you guys choose to do that.
Well, how would you remedy the situation?
That is not what I do not speak to the numbers.
Right.
I am here to present the information. I'm going to leave it to my leader to talk to you about that part. So this is by department. So you're actually going to be able to see by department, by position, how these things kind of played out. And it does say that this is by the fiscal year. So in administration, 2 of the positions that are in there, we don't have any longer. So we don't have an HR officer any longer. We don't have a procurement and inventory specialist anymore. This is now a different position. So that's why that's highlighted in blue, just so that you know that there are some changes. So animal control, both of those positions are below. Building and grounds, all 3 of those. Community development, both of those. And I'm not going to talk specifics just because you have all of the information. I'm not providing you anything that you don't have. Commission on Aging, only 2 of the positions are not in the negative. And I think that certainly Jen would speak to the need here because she can't keep people. Yes, sir.
Just for our sake, so we all understand, minimum wage, mid-wage, max wage, external mean, where do those come from?
The min, mid, and max are ours. So those are based on our steps that we
Those are our
provided.
steps, okay.
Yes, the external that is from our comparables.
That's what I wanted to make sure I was reading it right, so.
Absolutely. And so the MMAP coordinator at Commission on Aging, just as an example, I don't know what that job even does, but it's negative 13%. Compared to market value. Community development, that's a bifurcated position. Both of them are significantly under. District court, there's our clerks, which those have been reclassified since we've started doing this. They're right on track, but everybody else is below. And the OCC collections is almost 18.5% under. Our drain commission, all of them are under where they're supposed to be, same with equalization. Friend of the court, everybody, all of those positions are under. Indigent defense. Juvenile, those are all as well. Parks and Rec, I think it was last year, did have their wages adjusted. So that maintenance assistant is significantly above market, but the other position, the operations coordinator, is below. And then, so for our prosecutor, the chief prosecutor has been adjusted, the assistant prosecutor has been adjusted, and that receptionist secretary, you guys voted last meeting to change that position. So that position is not on there any longer. The sheriffs, that has been addressed with their contract and register of deeds, that's negative 15.5 and negative 13%.
Sheila, do you have a figure at this point? If we were to bring everybody up to date, what are we talking at? What kind of money?
I do not have that information. I assure you that you will have it before you are asked to make a decision. And then Veterans Affairs, also the director, that has been reclassified, so that's on the department head schedule, which takes that right out of this study. But then it's got the VSO there as well, but still. No, I did not. It's on there though, right? Oh, yes, yeah, the treasurer, so the chief deputy, she's almost 20% under. And then just the deputy clerk is 13.6%. And Terry, would you say your staff know that?
Yes.
Angie, do your staff know that they're underpaid?
I think you're missing the chief deputy for me. You got to get court. That's all.
Okay, well, I'll get you that number. So I apologize for that. Oh, it's not on there at all. All right. I do apologize. But your people are underpaid. Do they know it?
It's every time you walk through this building, you hear about it.
Yes.
So next step coming up, what's gonna happen is I will run the numbers on what it would take for a couple different scenarios for this board. In 2 weeks when we meet, I will present that. I do not want a decision that night. I would not recommend a decision that night. Just because, we should come back and revisit this one more time again. After
At least one more time. And I really think this is a huge deal for this county. It's a huge deal for this board to make these type of decisions that, but honestly, I think if Chris gave us that number tonight, it would, I don't have much here, but I think it'd bring it back a little bit to get us to, like, you just want everybody to, we were all even with what that mean wage was without taking anybody down, just bringing everybody up. I mean, there's a huge percentage of us that are, or of our employees, not us, of our employees that need to be, brought up. And some of them a very significant amount. So that's gonna equate out. I mean, and I know you have contract negotiations coming up. So these are things that we as a board are gonna need to look at and understand and work, hand in hand with you to make sure that we are doing our due diligence, but we also have to be responsible in what we're doing as well.
And I think we should work hand in hand with the unions also, because
So
part of the recommendation for this would be to combine salary structures into one salary schedule. Currently, different unions have different salary schedules, and that in part, that's definitely not the cause of the discrepancy in wages, but it doesn't help when someone in one department who you might think does the same thing as you has on a different salary scale.
this isn't just a flip one switch and it makes it all go away kind of thing. And that's why I said, this has taken years to get to this.
And I've been working on this before Sheila hired in. I've been working on this before Tracy commissioned the study. We have put millions of dollars into this courthouse, into projects that are what I would consider lifetime projects. Things that we can get out of the way to make sure that our courthouse is going to be here for the next generation. And now that those projects won't be coming up on us or sprung onto us as an emergency, which is obviously worst case scenario, we can now focus on things like this. So.
Well, and I appreciate hearing that because I know you personally we've talked about before, we need to be finding good local employees and hanging on to them. You know what I mean? It's awesome if you can find somebody who has done an internship per se with Gratiot County in whatever capacity that is. Whether that's a high school internship or a work study, or they're coming here from a college environment. And then that they want to work here and stay here, but the only way we're gonna do that is, wages but it is a part of it. And it's a part of attracting, what I mean? It might not be the thing that makes people leave. A lot of times I know the reasons that some people leave, but a lot of time to attract that talent and to then get the best. And
get them in the door.
Absolutely. Get them to even apply.
You're not gonna keep someone if you can't get them in the door.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And that's why I think this is a huge deal that I hope we talk about it more than just one time, to be honest with you. I really hope that this is something that we as a board discuss and talk with, because I want to make sure that we do the right thing for, because that, at the end of the day, the single biggest thing the county spends money on is our people, hands down. So we need to make sure that we take care of them and that we can attract the best and the brightest as we go forward. You know what I mean? So I really think this is something that we, as a board, this is a very serious matter that we need to make sure we take our due diligence and do it right.
So
I don't think it matters, you know, we can do all of the employee engagement that we want. People know that they sent these surveys in
Absolutely.
2 years ago.
Absolutely.
And there is no question in my mind that they're not thinking about that. And this is affecting the morale of our staff,
Absolutely.
just as. I'm
just
sorry.
the conversation of the wage study is affecting the morale.
Absolutely.
We have a department heads meeting coming up in a week where we will go over this information in detail with them,
Yep.
to help spread the message.
So,
And like I said, in 2 weeks, what I plan on bringing to you is multiple options to navigate this. Obviously, I would bring the total bill because that's what we want to know. How much is this going to cost? You've asked that. But I also want to bring you options for multi-year implementations too. I do want to be able to give our employees as much as we can. But I also want to make sure that if we aren't comfortable doing it, we have options to give them as much as we are comfortable giving them also. So you'll see possibly a 2-year implementation where we would implement 30 or 40% of the suggested raise in year 1 or immediately, and the remainder at a later date, or if we're only going to implement 80% of it total, or 75% of it total. When you see all the numbers on one page, it will help make sense.
absolutely.
Okay, I would like to add something to this too. At our last meeting, we talked about this a little bit, and then also my concern was the money part of it, of course. And you had mentioned at that time that we're pretty well set for the next 30 years with money coming in.
I never would have spoke that. I don't speak to numbers.
No, I don't know if you were even here. Was it that, anyway, they said we shouldn't worry about the money, that there's money coming in from the wind turbines and the solar windows, am I right?
I think 30 years is a stretch.
Well-
I'd say the forecast for the next 3 or 4 years is very good.
Yeah.
So what do you do at 3 or 4 years if this money's not coming in? How would we then?
The money's still coming in, it's just depreciating every year. And that's why we are currently working to put together repowering agreements with the turbine
But what I'm
companies.
saying, that every year we're adding more wind turbines, so that's more, that's at the higher.
Well, I think we're at a point where, unless some townships are interested in jumping on, I think we've capped out at turbines for now.
Yeah.
We're not adding any more wind
It's
turbines.
not that I'm aware of, no.
Don't say that, Jane. We're not.
No, what I'm
Say
saying.
every year we're adding more wind turbines. We're not.
No, what I'm saying is this. When we first put the wind turbines in, it was 188 of them. That was the first bunch that went in. But since then, that was probably back in 2013, someplace in there. And every year we put a few more in, a few more in, a few more in. Those guys are at the top, and the ones that have been at 2013 are down here, where we're gonna start getting less and less money, but you still have the ones at the top that's bringing money in for how many years? 7 at full, what'd you call it? Full tax or whatever it is. And then from there, they'll start depreciating. But as long as those wind turbines are up, we still draw a revenue tax off of them. Am I right? Because they're still in the ground, they're still going.
Right, after 15 years, they're
Depreciate
at 30%.
30%. That's what I thought. So what I'm saying is this, I think it's great that we'll bring everybody up to date, but I also think that we need to do something about the millages that people are paying in taxes. And there's lots we can do, because if we still have money coming in, we have money to give these raises. We've had money to redo the, the grounds and all that stuff and the other places that, well, other buildings that we are in contract with or that we own. And I would like to see us do things like, for instance, we do an indirect cost on how many of the millages that are out there. One is the library, one is the Commission on Aging, $80,000 we take from them. My suggestion is that if we're going to give these raises to everybody, we should be maybe doing something for our tax people. Somebody that's paying 5 mils on something, maybe go down to 4 or 3 to help some of these people out that are, everybody's having hard times right now.
Well, every May, Keegan from equalization brings you the millage rates, and that's the time that we would discuss doing that.
But I mean, like, it's something that we need to be thinking of very serious. A good example is the Parks and Rec. Why should somebody on this side of the county pay Parks and Recs mills when that money is going on the other side of the county and nothing comes back to them? And so they're looking at, if they decide to get out of it, they can do their own millage and that money comes to them, then they can do a whole lot more. And they don't have to go through the county. They'll have their own money coming in to their own area. So you need to think about this, is that there's talk out there and the townships paying all these millages and not getting anything for it. And it's been there, the Parks and Rec have been here now long enough that some of that money should have gone back over into this other areas and other areas that have asked for it. And they don't ask for a lot. And I will be attending the Parks meeting again this month until we find out exactly how this is going to be taken care of. And I will be bringing pictures of some of the places where they want stuff done. And so, just so you know, I would like to see us, we're looking at the employees here. But if these people decide to not do millages any longer, then we have a lot bigger problem. And so we could be funding a lot more than just our employees. So I want you to think about both sides. I want you to think that we're responsible for this county, for the employees here, but you're also responsible for the fire departments, the police departments, the parks. I mean, there's multiple things that we're also responsible for, and that we need to be thinking of the bigger picture. To me, I'm concerned about wages. And another thing too, that's been brought to my attention is that on Friday, people go home they stay home on Fridays. What is it called? It's, I can't think what you call the term is called.
Remote work,
Pardon?
remote work.
Home, they take their work home on Fridays. I think you need to be here. If you're getting paid a wage, you need to come to work here. It's not any different. Now that COVID-19 or whatever it's called is over with, now we all need to be back here working.
If you'd like, I can get you some statistics about the efficiency of people when they're remote working, and I can provide that to you by email or any way that you would like.
I gotta tell you something, it's not any different than the teachers or nurses or people that work in big companies. They have to go to work. They have to get up and drive to work.
I would say that there are a lot of big companies that allow for remote work or flexible work schedules. And that's part of how you get people in, is for them to be able to have a good culture and where they do have the flexibility.
We do have a lot of customer service employees. And we are required to have, and they are required to be here 5 days a week.
So how many are
But,
doing this on 1 day a week, they're home doing the work? How many is there in the?
Chris has given department heads the ability to make those decisions for what works best for each department.
So if everybody decided to not be here on Friday, what do you do? I mean, like, there was times where Terry was closing 2 days a week.
It would be the department head's decision of who could be out on any given day. So that would go to the department head.
And well, I'm just telling you that these are issues that are talked about out there. And I'm glad that we're gonna give raises to the employees. But we wouldn't have anything if we didn't have the farmers putting in these wind turbines and paying the taxes on it.
But what does that have to do with remote work?
I'm saying that well, they can do more report, but you're gonna give these people more raises. So if you're gonna give them raises, I would think they better stay here to work. Because, well, I'm just telling you, I'm just putting this out there for you to think about. You guys should start coming to the township meetings. Come and talk and listen to what their concerns are.
One thing, you compare counties, right? Some counties, they may give their workers a lot more, but they're in severe financial trouble, which down the road, they're gonna have to do something, lay people off, probably.
That is definitely something that we will keep in mind as we present these different scenarios to you. Absolutely.
I just wondered the revenue, you said when I first started that you get most from tax, like property taxes, right?
Yeah, right now we are in our general fund, it's approximately 5.5 million from our general operating property tax and about 3.5 million from.
When you raise property tax, that's very unpopular.
It is. And we have never, I don't remember Gratiot County ever raising the general operating millage.
That's good.
The issue is our property values are going up, which causes our tax rates to go up.
Yeah,
I just got my letter in the mail too, just this last week, another solid 5%.
Well, this is why when they put millages out there, a lot of them were turned down this last time, especially. One in Fulton was turned down. Several were turned down in Isabel County because I have friends up there. Their taxes would have went up 38%. And people just don't want to pay it. If you can't afford to do things for your family, your kids, you're gonna start saying no on some of these millages. And I'm just saying that. And there's an issue about the Parks and Rec right now, I can tell you that. That's why I'm going there to the meetings, and I'm not even on that board. But my concerns is that it's a real simple thing that can be taken care of just by being concerned about what their concerns are. And that's what I'm a commissioner for, is to listen to the concerns outside of this courthouse also.
For sure, that's people we represent are the people that live in the county.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's who we represent.
I always say to my townships, I'm behind you no matter
Mm-hmm.
what.
And, and I don't want to. Another thing, there's a lot of shortages we got a shortage of police officers, we got a shortage of teachers, we have a shortage of firemen, ambulance drivers.
We have a generational shortage that was just discussed at a meeting.
They're paying good money, especially with MMR, they're paying real good money. They just can't get anybody that want to work. And so, and there's a lot of things that's going on with these different jobs that are concerns that people say, yeah, I don't want to do that. That's not a good job, or it's not it used to be, these were all safety things that people could, have a family and have a proud job that they'd like to go to and made good money. But there's so much activity going on out there. And I don't blame that on our county. I blame that on lots of blames, I guess. But there's just, I go to a lot of meetings and I listen to a lot of concerns. And I'm just telling you, let's think outside the picture here. Let's think about our farmers and our business people and our factories. I can't believe how many factories have gone out in the last 5 years, and how many empty buildings there are in Alma, St. Louis, Breckenridge. I haven't counted them down through here, but I will.
What does that mean for your opinion on our wage study then? All of this.
What I'm saying is that we have to, it's okay to give away, it's okay to give higher wages to people here, but that money is coming from our community. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at the millages and let's look at a good example I told you about Parks and Rec. You've got several people that's asked for money to do a little bit. One time they want to borrow money, or not borrow, but money from Parks and Rec. And how long, this is their second millage, is it second or third? Second, isn't it?
I
They were here. We started that back when Jim Vanderbeek was on this board.
think it's the second 8-year village.
So we're getting into 16 years. And they wanted $200,000 to pave the driveway out of one of the parks. Well, I think that'd be great if nobody else needed any money. But you've got all these people that say, well, if I could just have 7,000, I could put in a swing set for these kids.
I think we directly responded to the community when they asked for that by carving out $100,000 to distribute to non-county.
Just started, this, we're in what, our third year from
That's
what I
right,
understand.
that's right. But
It
now,
started at 50, then it went to 60 or 70,000, now it's 100 this year, which we're in the process of trying to decide where that money's gonna go. Are they gonna be able to, I mean, I just got on the Parks and Rec board. I've been to 2 meetings and they're working through that process. There was some things that came, you were there when they were questioning whether those things happened. But there's $100,000 pool to go. I mean, if there's $100,000 that needs to be split up amongst, or deciding which ones of those 7 things that have been requested for the money, how are they gonna spend that $100,000?
yeah, I was there for all
Cause
that.
it will go through, I mean, you could go through, whatever,
Let me
not
put it
fast,
this way. They
it still wouldn't fund it.
okay, let me put it this way. They wanted $200,000 to pave out at the parks.
Mhm.
$200,000. That was turned down. We don't want to do it at all. Why not take that $200,000 and give it to all 7 people? And then this is like a one-time thing that these people are asking for. It's to bring people in their community. It's for the people in their community. Most of them it's just a poppy eye, just kids that live there have someplace to go.
Well, I think as a board, this will come up again. We approved that. I wasn't even on the board, but the Board of Commissioners is who approved the Parks Division to take $100,000 of that millage and divert it towards our local entities. And so that's where it will come up again as a Board of Commission on how much we think. So for this year, you guys voted yes to, or we as a board voted that $100,000 was for this year. When that comes up again, and I don't know what month that happens, and like I said, I wasn't on the board then, but eventually we're gonna have that presented to us again of how much we want to allocate towards these other things. That would be the time I think
And that's right, we can discuss.
we can't change it now, because that's already been done. Now I think you would look at that when that time comes in.
That's right, and we can, but I'm just telling you now that I'll use Breckenridge for an example. They're gonna do that no matter what, whether you give them the money or don't.
Mhm.
I gotta tell you something, they're not gonna vote for that millage again. They're done. And I would imagine from Wheeler all the way past St. Louis, all the way down through there, they're done. And probably Alma, because Alma asked for a little bit of money to put a area in for kids to ride bikes.
At this point in time, none of the money has been allocated. yet. They haven't made any decisions. There's been
No, this
no
is
decisions
what I'm
on where that money's going this
This
year.
is what I'm saying to you is that if there's money, we're gonna give all these great raises, which I'm for. I mean, I'm gonna vote for that. I'm for that, but I'm also gonna stick with these guys. That money is money that came from them.
But the Parks, you're talking about 2 totally different pots of money. Parks and Rec is a separate millage
Right.
that only can be spent on Parks and Rec, which we've allocated. You guys voted to allocate $100,000. We have a committee, and there's 3 or 4 of you that sit on that committee that are making the decision of where that money's going. Parks and Rec money has absolutely 0 to do with the wage that we pay our employees here.
But where did the money
Zero.
come from? Where did that money come from?
The money that we pay our employees.
Yeah.
That comes from the general fund, not from the Parks and Millage.
Where does that money come from? The general fund?
It comes from our taxpayers.
Exactly.
That's the money that Chris just got done saying. The millage, the mills on this county haven't changed at all. We haven't changed the mills that we take from people.
The extra money that comes into our county though now is from the wind turbines.
Some of it,
Yes, and that comes
some of it comes from other businesses and everything else. Yeah.
The biggest places where it comes from is Wheeler Township, St. Louis, and Alma. That's where all the people are. So you figure it out. I mean, I've been here a long time, so I'm always figuring. So I'm just telling you that I think it was great that we have these two lakes and that we've done so much there. But these guys have been asking and asking and asking. And the money that comes into this county is from the taxpayers.
Mhm.
And they're unhappy. I'm telling you, they're unhappy. That's why I'm kind of helping because I know them. They go to my church, I go to their church, or we all go to the same church. I used to be on their boards, that used to be my district.
Mhm.
And plus St. Louis, Alma, St. Louis and Breckenridge, that's my whole area now.
Mhm.
So I'm just telling you that let's take a look and what can we do for them? Let's make everybody happy. If you do one thing and say, we'll get you in a couple of years, they're not gonna be happy. I'm just telling you. And if
All I
you would like,
all I know is this Board of Commissioners voted to allocate $100,000 of the approximately, isn't it 500,000, Chris, that comes into the parks approximately from the millage? Approximately 500,000. This board allocated $100,000 for this fiscal year to go to these other projects. This year, there's been, I don't even remember the total, but it's well over 200,000. If you add all seven, it's well over $200,000. This Board of Commission, the 5 people that sat on this board, allocated $100,000. We as the Parks Board can't spend more than that, or we would be disobeying what this board did.
this is,
So
this,
that's where I'm getting at. We're talking about two totally different things. If this board this coming year decides to allocate more of those funds towards going out to the local communities, which is all 16 townships and all the villages in the county, that's what we need to do when that comes.
the same people have been asking for money probably for the last 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
Okay. And I'll tell you something. Why don't you come to some of these meetings? Don't just go to your, I represent my township.
Mhm.
I'm here because my township elected me to sit on this board
Mhm.
on their behalf. Just like you and just like Tim. The other two aren't here.
Mhm.
We're represented. I represent them. I work.
Absolutely, that's what we do.
Yeah, I work for them. And I'm telling you, now I'm on Elmos and I'm on St. Louis and I'm on Breckenridge. I'm telling you something, I got a lot of power there.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't have power. They want to have things done. And so far, they've been turned down. I wouldn't be turning them down again with us giving.
Who's been turned down? I guess that last year the money was allocated. One of the projects is, they still haven't spent the money.
Did Alma get any money?
Just gonna say,
The first year, the only money,
Dave, why don't you come up here?
I'm speak on our wage study.
yeah, about the parks.
I'm for the wages. I think.
I was talking about Parks and Rec.
Parks and
So it
Rec.
is on that committee, so.
The Parks and Recs folks, we got the direction. First year it was 80,000.
Okay, I was.
And the only project that applied was Ithaca, and they got their pickleball courts. Last year, we had 2 projects. It was Elma and their pocket park and Perrin,
Parrington for the basketball courts.
yeah, and we were able to provide money for both of those. This year, because we've been more active in seeking our agent government bodies to request the funds, we have a lot more. We have so much that there is no way we're gonna be able to, we could probably give some, but Parrington again has requested money, and my opinion is, they got a nice substantial sum. We're able to do some things. I think we need to look at some of the other places this year. So I think, this is a thing, a work in progress. And as a group, we're deciding we need to do a better job of publicizing what we have available and what they need to consider when they're applying. So, because we want to make sure we have quality facilities.
Absolutely. But once again, so that worked. We got 7 applications this year for some wonderful projects. Every one of them is a needed project. I think when I read them all, I'm like, you need, everybody needs that. However, this board allocated $100,000. That comes from here. That isn't my decision. That isn't Dave's decision of how the millage that comes in, which is approximately, from talking to Chris, $500,000 of Parks and Rec money is generated from the millage, correct? Okay. This board decided $100,000 of that money can be spent on these other projects. That's it. He can't allocate, being one of 3 members, there's 3 or 4 beyond that. Or 4 of you on that committee, they cannot allocate to spend $200,000 or $300,000 because we, the Board of Commissioners, did not give them the authorization to do that. We set it at $100,000. They have to decide out of those 7 projects, how do we break up $100,000 to all of the different areas? That's Ashley, Parrington, Breckenridge, Elma, Sumner, all those different areas asked for those things. Yeah, St. Louis asked for that. So there's only $100,000 in the pot to be divvied up and where they're going to put that money at. That was set by this board, not them, not the Parks and Rec. That was set by this board. We're the ones that voted to give this $100,000.
I'm just telling you what, if you,
I understand.
do you want to come?
I understand there's people that are pissed they put in for money, but the only people who've ever put in for money got the money, right? The first year, Ithaca they're the only one that put in their name in the hat, they got the money. Last year, 2 people put their name in the hat, they got the money, Elma and Parrington.
What?
So I don't know where people are saying that they haven't gotten any of the funds because they haven't paid for them until this year.
I'll tell you what happened back when Pete Little was here. They gave, and see if I'm saying this right, they gave Breckenridge money, but they weren't ready to use it, so they gave it back and said, we're not gonna do it this year, we're gonna do it next year. And of course, now he's gone. And
I don't feel that's accurate. Breckenridge never specifically approached our commission. And yeah, so.
he did, I guess he did with Pete Little, is what my understanding is. But anyway, the bottom line is this, they're trying to get their towns fixed up. They're doing a lot of parades and a lot of stuff going on over in Breckenridge.
Oh, I agree. I've been to many of them.
And
I drove the police car.
I'm just telling you, you guys can come to a meeting. They have a meeting that's the 4th Monday of the month. And I'm just telling you that we need to look at a bigger picture here. We're spending a lot, we've spent a lot of money, and I'm glad that we've brought up things, our property and given raises, giving more raises. I'm just telling you, just so you know.
Okay.
I don't want to be any secret. It's not even my district. Because I go to church there, we talk about it.
Any more questions on the compensation piece?
Oh, I would like to have the original copy if I could to read it. Can I do that?
You have it.
The study that we had done.
This is
That the original that you got back?
the details. The other stuff cannot go out to the public.
I'm not going to give it. It's going to me to read.
I've been told that cannot happen.
Why would that be?
You can come into my office and read it. It's not information because there's different scores and points and those kinds of things. So come in anytime and you can read through the whole thing.
We're paying $38,000. The commissioners can't read it.
I just told you, you can step in and you can anytime.
We can read it. We can't take it with us.
Correct.
But it has to stay in their office.
It's proprietary information.
Okay, I'll be glad to do that. I will do it sometime
Anytime.
next couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
I'm the, sorry. I like to argue with these guys. Okay. Do you have anything else?
Nope, not if you do anything else for me.
There's one more item that was added to the agenda.
Yeah, just making sure that we're done with that subject. Does anybody in the audience have anything to say? Okay.
Yeah. So. David Justin, I live in the 2nd precinct in Elma. Over the past, I don't know, it seems like a couple of years, Commissioner Bunning has made some claims about what I would call malfeasance. and that there's monetary issues or something that involve other commissioners and at one meeting, I heard you say that you were going to provide a report to Commissioner Smith. And to my knowledge, that hasn't been done. So I'm wondering, you made these claims and allegations and
Are you talking about the wind turbines?
no, I'm talking about, basically, it sounded like there was, money being expended or,
I don't know. I've had conversations with Commissioner Smith and
but this was in a public meeting and you stated that you were going to provide a report and you had been doing an
the only
investigation.
report that I'm working on is the wind turbines and counting them and putting them in kind of all the wind turbines that go up, I'm just logging them. So I'm not done because we're not done putting wind turbines up.
We are.
Well, they just finished. I mean,
They're not adding any more.
I heard that there might be another 20 of them going up.
Oh, no.
Do you know anything about it?
Not that I'm aware of.
To my knowledge, there's no new wind turbine farms on the books at all because it's quite a process to get this done. There's none in any of the townships in Gratiot County currently being explored, none.
Okay.
So I guess my concern is some allegations were made and now it's just kind of out there hanging and as I said, I heard you say you were going to give a report to Commissioner Smith and
Yeah,
doesn't seem to have
the
happened.
reason, well, one thing is I moved last year after 45 years living in one place. I ended up moving to another place where it's across from the park and, it's a little bit nicer. It's more of a house. And so, in fact, I'm not even unpacked yet because I'm also a parapro for the schools during the day, during the season of school. And then, of course, in the evenings, I do a lot of meetings and commissioners. So actually I have 2 jobs going on, but I'm working on it. And if you want to give me your name and number, I'll let you see it. when I get it done.
I don't think it was necessarily, I mean, it basically sounded like there was some, as I said, malfeasance happening and you had someone investigating. So I guess as a citizen, I'm curious to know what it was and who did you have doing this investigation?
I'm the one doing the I think that there's more wind turbines than what they're saying. And the reason why, one of them is at Pine River Township. I went on the GPS or GIS through the state and ended up bringing in more wind turbines than what they had reported at that time. In fact, I'm waiting until the report is done again to see how many there is. And it's just not done until they are all finished.
That doesn't seem to be addressing my issue that, you made a claim that there was some malfeasance. And
When I get it done, I will come forward with it, and I'm the one that's doing the work on it. There are other people involved that have been involved in it and that are involved, but waiting on me to finish up what I'm doing. There's not enough hours in the day or the week for me to do everything that I need to do. I'm very involved in a lot of committees. The school, of course, I work at 3 different schools, Bolton, Ashley, and St. Louis, all of them. And so, like yesterday, I thought I had the day off. They called and asked me to come in, and today I worked. And I never know from day to day when I'm working. I usually do more of the work in the summertime, like April, May, and June.
well, as I said, it seems like this.
I'm glad you're listening and paying attention.
Okay.
Would you like to give me your name and number and I can call you when I get it done?
I'll just wait to hear the report you give.
Okay. If you change your mind, just call me. I'm in the phone book, in the front there. Okay, we have one more. And I didn't write it down here. What was the,
Delinquent tax.
okay,
Tax.
Delinquent.
Delinquent.
Delinquent tax lawsuits,
Okay.
or under new business.
put on it.
I will do that. So one of our, just actually earlier today, one of our lawsuits came to a head and we received a recommendation for payment from our lawyer who was hired through our insurance company, MMRMA. The case, we have spoke sporadically. This case has been open for 4 years now, maybe, something like that. So what this was, is it was a foreclosure that happened. Freed is the plaintiff.
Who's the plaintiff?
Freed. It was Freed versus the county of Gratiot. And the house was foreclosed and then auctioned. The auction proceeds were approximately $42,000 for, I think the taxes that were due were probably in the neighborhood of about $4,000. So there was, I believe there was a class suit against multiple counties, and this was kind of an individual one that kind of spearheaded it, where they sued us for excessive surplus in the portion of the foreclosure. The recommendation that I have here in front of me is to make payment to our lawyers for $79,990.84. The reason that I need to bring this to you is to accept this and to also make a budget amendment within the delinquent tax fund to send this money in. This was not budgeted for the fiscal year.
How much was it again? 79,000?
$990.84.
$79,900.
$90.84.
Okay, sorry.
Yep. So I did talk to Terry, treasurer, about this earlier today. She just wanted us to be reminded that when we budgeted the surplus, or when we requested the surplus from the delinquent tax fund to be transferred to the general fund this budget year, Terry was going to request that it would be net of what this judgment and possibly another judgment would be. So that first payment to us was made on time. I believe it was in October.
Yeah, this is the first part.
The second payment is due, I think the MCLs are a little bit vague, but it's after settlement is completed to ensure that you have the funds for settlement. Is that correct?
Anytime during the fiscal year, so at my judgment is when, but could I, it's actually.
You want to, I know that there's a couple commissioners listening at home too. Do you want to use the microphone?
Wasn't going to come to you it's today, so, but yeah, I did ask Chris, please keep in mind that there is still another case out there that's in litigation, and now that this one has hit, but, it was a little more than the 79.
I believe $4,210 was to be paid by
By the
the
state,
state.
but there's also, that's just the interest, there's also the surplus. So it's 117,000.
When did this happen? Is this the one where the guy, the neighbor, bought it and then turned around and gave it back to him?
Yeah, friend, yeah, a friend of his did.
Okay.
You're right.
It's $117,772.40 is what the lawyer is asking for.
Now I'm going to be the one to ask you to repeat that number.
No problem. $117,772.40.
172. And that should be
That's
about
37.
$38,000 more than what I said, right?
Yeah, because that is the actual surplus. The other was interest
What's 100
and attorney fees.
117.
Fees.
17? Well, that's what she was telling us, 117.
Yeah, that's the total that they're asking for right now.
Okay.
That is above and beyond what, because the 79,000 was to pay our attorney fees. Is that correct, Chris?
79,000 is to pay his attorney fee.
His attorney.
Yes.
So this is all inclusive. This 117 gets everything. His
The surplus,
attorney fees.
his attorney,
Okay.
fees and costs.
And now, correct, so I make sure I'm right. This 117 we want to take it out of what's still at the treasurer's office in the delinquent tax fund that you still haven't paid us for. You paid half of it on October 1st. There's still a lump sum sitting there that's going to come to the county eventually when you're ready
This fiscal year.
this fiscal year, sometime between now and September 3rd.
Yes.
Okay, this money, this 117,000 for this one judgment will come out of what you still have at your coffers? Or is it to come out of the delinquent tax funds that we've put into the general fund?
It will come out of the payment that the delinquent tax fund is going to transfer to us later this year.
Okay.
The second half.
The one that we still haven't got from you. So the one that went in is in the general fund. This is gonna come out of what we still have coming to us.
Yes.
Okay. All
And
right.
I urge you to remember, there is still one more
Hanging.
lawsuit out. So now I have no idea when or what that is going to
You
be.
need a motion, correct?
Yes.
Say this.
Okay.
I so move that we allocate $117,772.40 to come out of the delinquent tax fund that is still at the treasurer's to cover these fees from this lawsuit.
Can you also make a budget amendment? Use. the
Yeah,
word
yes.
budget amendment.
And
Is that a separate?
also to make a budget amendment for this fiscal year to accommodate this. Thank you. You're welcome.
Need a second.
I seconded.
Okay, we need a roll call because of the.
Commissioner Sapsy,
Yes.
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Motion was made by Commissioner Stopsy and Commissioner Gay, and it went through. Yeah, and it's done now.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Consideration of unfinished business. Consideration of unfinished business.
Okay, consideration of unfinished business. Is there any other unfinished business today? Okay, if there's none, we have one more addition, a public comment here. Is anybody here that would like to make a public comment yet? No one?
I motion to adjourn.
Okay,
Sport.
okay. Motion to adjourn. All those say aye.
Aye.